Welcome to ProPractice, your guide to refine, enliven, and illuminate the piano repertoire. I'm Josh Wright, and today's episode is on the Bach Prelude and Fugue in G major from the Well-Tempered Clavier Book 2. Just to refresh your memory if you're unfamiliar with it. That's the prelude and this is the fugue. And today we're going to be going over some practice techniques to help you become as efficient as possible in your practice. I'm going to give you certain exercises to help with the technique of voicing. I'll also give you plenty of musical and interpretive ideas. So with that, let's get started. The first thing that you want to realize with Bach's music is that it is primarily made up of thirds and sixths. I had to take this counterpoint class for my doctorate, and I remember one of the big revelations is I was analyzing everything with Roman numeral analysis. So I'd say, oh, this is a 1 chord, this is a 4 chord, a 5. And our teacher said, you need to get away from that, and you need to think contrapuntally, so voice against voice, and you need to think thirds and sixths. So when we were writing our own preludes, which was probably the hardest assignment I ever had to do for school, we had to compose our own prelude in the style of Bach. It was all based around thirds and sixths. And you'd have fourths and fifths and seconds and sevenths in there, but the core of everything is around this. And you can see this right from the get-go right here. And Bach is a little different than Mozart or Chopin, for instance, because it has more to do with counterpoint, which is voice against voice, than it does with like melody and accompaniment. So like whereas Chopin, that's so obvious. This, you can't really say, okay, the right hand is the melody and the left hand's accompaniment. You could voice the right hand more, but this is just as important. So keep that in mind when you're playing Bach. Lots of counterpoint going on. Now, how do we get that line to be brought out? One method that I've suggested in numerous videos is to practice legato on your melody and staccato on your accompaniment. Takes a little while just to get comfortable with that, and then you can just practice this all legato. Okay, now just practice this. Okay, now we're going to be pianissimo on those staccatos. Okay, let's just try that. This is just a practice method. Sorry, that was too loud. I accented it. Notice I'm putting shape in immediately. I'll never forget, my wife told me that she went to a master class with Murray Pariah. I was actually serving a church mission at the time, and I was very jealous. But he told her, and actually when he did a question and answer that I attended a few years later, he alluded to the same thing, but he told her, he said, someone in the class had said, how do you warm up? And he said, I always play Bach because it puts me in the most spiritual mindset I can possibly get into, and it helps me to have inspiration flow through the rest of my practice session. So when you're playing Bach, it's really easy to become kind of robotic. Chopin, Beethoven, Tchaikovsky, some more romantic composer. Beethoven wasn't necessarily romantic, but he was more classical. But some of these more romantic composers, Schumann, Schubert, it's really easy to kind of get lost in the music. Whereas when you play Bach, if you're not already a huge Bach lover, it's easy to kind of become a little robotic and just, let's really... So let's talk through what I just did. Crescendo to there. Now start soft and crescendo to there, and then less to there. One thing one of my teachers suggested is pedal so that you can connect. So pedal, connect. A lot of people are going to freak out and say, oh, he's an absolute idiot. Why is Josh telling us to pedal here? Bach didn't have pedaling. Of course he didn't. This was written for harpsichord, but you're going to play piano differently than you're going to play harpsichord. And so it doesn't mean that you have to be drastically different and make romantic dynamics out of all of this, but Bach is so sentimental and beautiful and spiritual. I want you to get the notion out of your mind that you play Bach just flat and you don't have any type of expression. That is the absolutely the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because even in harpsichord there's ways of being expressive. For instance, in harpsichord, if you displace things like that's a means of expression. It sounds absolutely terrible on the piano. Just like we can't actually do certain things on the harpsichord that we can do on the piano, and vice versa. I studied with one of really the world authorities on harpsichord music this past semester at the University of Michigan. He was brilliant, one of my favorite teachers I've ever had, and he always said, your music has to be fresh and it has to be different each day, and you have to experience it differently each day. So if you're going to experience music differently each day, there certainly will be a little bit of fluctuation with your dynamic levels. So just keep that in mind. Let's keep going. Now it depends on how much left hand. Thank you so much for watching. As with all ProPractice videos, the first section is free. If you'd like to view the rest of this video, or if you're interested in learning more about ProPractice, just click on the link on this screen or on the link in the comments section below. Thank you for your support of ProPractice.